if y'all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to ask y'all to sort of introduce yourselves, and then we're going to sort of launch in. And if you can introduce yourself by like both your name and your institution, and sort of where you are in the what your discipline is, that would be great. I'm Jonathan Watts Hall. I'm with the System Office. I'm the Director for Student Success. So from a disciplinary standpoint, I'm actually, I'm in policy. So policy and politics would be my background, but obviously I'm now globally and looking at student success. The person who's to my left immediately on the screen is Camille. So I'm gonna pitch it to you, Camille, to introduce yourself.
Good morning, my name is Camille Pace, and I'm from Georgia Highlands College, and I am currently the chair for the School of Business and Professional Studies, and we are looking into getting a data analytics BBA program, and I'm currently writing the course of the Intro to Data Science course with R in the Tidyverse, which is all free for students.
Bill, you're to the right on my screen.
I'm Bill Vinsel, University of Georgia. I'm the Associate Vice President for Instruction. My disciplinary background is plant biochemistry, but I do teach courses on data visualization to first-year students. We are looking at, once we have personnel, to have Data 1501 offered here for non-STEM students.
Fantastic. And Ben Kamau.
Good morning, I'm Ben Kamau. I chair the math department at Columbus State University. We have submitted our proposal for the Data 1501, and it has been approved through the institutional curriculum process and also USG. And we look forward to offering it in the fall. We have 2 students registered already.
And Keith Driscoll?
That's me. I'm Keith Driscoll from Clayton State. I'm actually a faculty member in the math department. I'm the coordinator of the statistics courses. And we're looking at, we're working on getting it through the University Curriculum Committee, the 1501 course. That should be on, it will be on their agenda this Friday. I should know, I'm the chair of that committee this year. And we're looking at starting offering it, I believe, in the spring, but I'll defer a final decision on that to Dr. Matos, who's my chair.
Paul Schleicherman?
I am the associate head of the statistics department at UGA, and I'm also leading the effort to develop our, well, we're calling it for the moment, Stat 1501.
So Connie Richardson.
Hi, everybody. I've met several of you in our work supporting the statistics implementation. I'm from the Dana Center at UT Austin, and have been sitting in on some of the data science meetings. Haven't really been much help, but we are trying to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on in data science around the country. So really, in this case, y'all are really helping me out, and I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me come.
Sherry?
Yes, hello everyone, Sherry Nee. I come from Kennesaw State University. I'm currently the Associate Director of the School of Data Science and Analytics. But prior to that, we were, a big part of the school is Department of Statistics and Analytical Sciences. So my background is in statistics, and I'm working with my colleague, Nicole Carter, in developing this 1501 course, which will be launched in fall, and we have a few students registered already.
Fantastic. Tarvai, to wrap off our UGA folks. I think you're muted.
Yeah, so you can call me TN Jonathan. That's popularly
TN.
TN. All right. I am from University of Georgia, Department Head of Statistics, and we do have a bachelor's in data science program, which we launched in fall 2019, and it has become phenomenally popular. We will be soon launching an MS in data science. We thought we would be able to launch it in fall of 2021, but it looks like it's going to be shifted to the following year. But we offer several data science courses, some of which have become extremely popular. We are conducting a data science competition at UGA, partnered with Wells Fargo, and that which will conclude on April 15th. We are in the process of putting together the Data 1501 course, which we are calling it Stat 1501 course. And Paul Schlickelman, the associate head who introduced himself a few minutes ago, is the one that is leading the effort, and he will speak more about it as we go along.
Catherine?
Unmuted. There we go. That's, oh no, wait, now it says unmuted.
No, but you're talking now.
Okay. The computer's confusing me now. I'm interim department chair at Clayton State, and my background's math and engineering, we'll say that. And yeah, I'll back Keith up in that. I think the earliest we're going to offer Data 1501 is going to be spring semester. Is really going to depend on if we have a faculty member. And I think we'd have a new one coming on board that is going to really jump on the chance to teach it, I think. So.
And Catherine is the chair of the ACM.
Oh yeah, that too.
Advisory Committee on Mathematical Studies. So Catherine was in the room when the Data 1501 course actually got sort of pressed through as well. So I appreciate her presence. She's a really good chair for that. Shatisha?
Good morning. I'm Shatia Butler-Lamar from Savannah State University. I am the program coordinator for computer information systems. I am also a co-PI on a HBCU UP grant that we have that sponsors our data analytics certificate program. We are currently working to implement a data analytics bachelor's degree program soon. And we have also formed a interdisciplinary committee to work on implementing the Data 1501 course in our Area D courses. Dr. Chowdhury is the chair of that committee, and I'll allow him to speak on the dates in terms of when that will be implemented.
Dr. Chowdhury, do you want to go ahead? Mansoor?
Hi.
I don't think she's referring to
Not me.
No, I'm not sure if he's on here now, but I believe he was going to join this session.
Well, Mansoor, anyway, you are the next in line, so I'm sorry for the confusion. I don't think I've ever seen him in person. I've gotten emails from him a lot, but I don't think I've ever seen him in person, so apologies for that.
Okay, my name is Mansoor Chowdhury. I am in the Department of the Statistics at the University of Georgia, and I am teaching some data science course like R programming and data literacy. And also I'm in the committee for Stat 1501 that Paul Schlickelman will talk about more details about this.
Great. And Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole Carter. I'm a lecturer of statistics and data science at KSU. Obviously, my master's degree is in statistics and analytics, and I just came back to teaching about 1.5 years ago after going and working as a data scientist in the field. So I'm really happy to be coordinating this course and helping with the development.
And last but not least, Kristen.
Hi, yeah, sorry I was a little late. So I'm an assistant professor at Columbus State, and I'm also the program coordinator for our data analytics minor. And so Ben Kamau here is my chair, and so he knows more about the specifics for it going into Area D and such. But right now we have it on the schedule for fall, and I will be teaching it. And so I'm currently just kind of thinking about how I want to go about that and start developing materials. That's kind of where I'm at.
Thanks. So sort of and I noted this, want to get an idea, I've kind of got an idea now where you are in terms of offering it next year. I'm going to summarize that and then want to kind of go over that, kind of buys into that, where you are in the process of local and system approval, and sort of more importantly, where you are in course development, I think is actually the meat of the matter. I am curious about technology your choices, including the modality for the course. I didn't actually mention that, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about. So I'm going to go through this. I just want to make sure. So if I'm remembering this correctly, Camille, y'all have it in the fall. It's on your calendar for the fall.
Next spring.
Spring. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have? So Kenesaw's got it in the fall. Does anybody else have it for a fall course?
Yes, Columbus State.
Columbus State does. And is it going to be a spring? Is the Stat 1501 going to be a spring course at UGA? Is that the thought?
We are not. I don't think that we will be offering it next year. I mean, we have not even started any approval processes, and we don't necessarily. It would be a struggle to have faculty to teach it, and so we were not thinking about it. I don't think it's totally out of the question to do it in the spring, but it's not in our current plans to offer it.
Okay. It's not. I'm not. There's no pressure on this. I'm just trying to get a landscape. It's also really helpful to have a full landscape as we go through. So, is it a fall class for 2022, or do you just think it's sort of going to be a building?
I would think fall 2022, correct.
In Savannah, where are y'all in course development? Do you have a timeline on your course development?
We are looking to implement it in fall 2022. We have just missed the deadline for the approval processes. And so we will submit it for approval in fall 21 to implement in fall 22.
Okay. Excellent. Oops. 2200.
Jonathan,
yeah.
Let me also add a little bit of clarification to what Paul was saying. The committee has done a lot of groundwork, and we were looking for some guidance. And Paul, don't let me misspeak anything. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking for some guidance. As soon as we get it, the motion of putting it through the committees and so on will not take too much time. It's just the question of the resources to offer it in the upcoming fall or spring is the only reason that we are aiming towards fall 22. But motion of putting it through the approval process, once we decide on what the course content should be, which Paul will be asking for guidance, we should all be set.
That's local. I mean, you're looking for local guidance. It's still a local process.
Yeah.
So for those of y'all who have offered it, who have more structured plans for operating, I'm particularly curious, where it's going in the fall or even in the spring. Where do you see this falling on, like, in terms of programs? Like who has been, what are the program recommendations? What are the conversations y'all are having with advisors? So that's sort of, it's a Kenesaw and a Highlands and a Columbus State in particular have sort of had these conversations, and I guess maybe even at Clayton. So what's the conversations been like? Have you identified programs for this course? And advisors being brought in?
Yes, we have identified about 13 or 12 programs who will recommend this statistics pathway to their students. Those are all non-STEM majors, primarily in our humanity college, and also a few in the human studies and education colleges. But the feedback we received is they are not starting advising it until fall 2021. So to the new students, because that's when the catalog year starts. We have scheduled a few sections for fall, and then for current students, they didn't get the advice. We have put the advertisement out, but it's their own choice to adopt the 2021 catalog or their current catalog. So our enrollment right now is low, I would say. We're looking to see whether we can fill this 4 sections. But right now, we only have like a couple in each section. I scheduled right now 4 sections.
Okay. Is anybody else having conversations with their advising core or their departments about where this course fits?
Yes, in Columbus State, we have English, criminal justice, sociology, and also Associates of Applied Sciences in Criminal Justice. That is a firm confirmation. Conversations are ongoing with other areas of social sciences, and we've not had confirmations from those departments. But for these 4, we're sure that they have adopted that, and we believe that numbers will be going up. We have only 1 section for now.
And it was English criminal justice, the AS and the BS, and 1 more, and I missed the last one.
Sociology.
Sociology.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask, but something I'm curious about. I mean, something that we have struggled with in our conversations is where this course should fit relative to other courses that we already have. Like, for example, we have Stat 2000, which is a large lecture, more than 1,000 students take it every semester, and it's an intro level stat course. And for example, the data 1501 from Berkeley, it covers very similar material. I mean, I think the biggest difference being that it's all done in Python. And so we weren't necessarily thinking that we need to have another course that just duplicates a course that we already have, but in Python. And so, we thought the course that we have designed right now goes in more of a modern data science direction rather than focusing on traditional stat topics. But I'm curious what other institutions are doing in terms of how they are differentiating this course from existing stat courses.
I can speak to that on how we're doing it at least. So we have Stat 1401, which is our Intro to Stats course, and it basically goes through just basic stats concepts. We do probability and also confidence intervals and hypothesis testing and a small unit on regression. But it's more focused on the actual statistics, the underlying statistics. And the direction that we're taking data 1501 is kind of like walking in the shoes of a data scientist. So defining the problem and then collecting the data and cleaning the data and pre-processing and then building a model and then communicating the results. So it's more applying those things that they've learned from 1401 instead of getting under the hood and what the statistics is behind all those procedures.
Do they have 1401 as a prereq, or they're independent courses?
There is no prereq. They do have to satisfy their area A, and 1401 sits in that area. So we recommend that they take them in succession, but we're building 1501 in such a way that they don't have to have that knowledge in order to be successful.
We're doing the exact same thing at Georgia Highlands. The only other thing that we have is the second stats class that we approved last year. And I'm kind of doing the advising tool that those are for students who may not want to learn coding per se, but use software to do advanced statistics. And we're even going into non-parametrics, see it maybe more as my psychologist or somebody who wants to eventually go to grad school.
And Camille, just for clarification, that's in the 1402, the second stats class, or is that in the data science class?
Correct. That's in the second stats class. So the data science, they're going to use the second stats class. We're going to keep them using Minitab to pull on what they've done in 1401.
Yeah, I guess one question that came up in our discussion was that with regard to data wrangling and data cleaning and so on and so forth, yes, we have the expertise to introduce Python and introduce it to the students. But the question that people were having was, will the students be able to grasp that level of details and programming at the at a beginning level course? Paul may be able to expand on that, or Mansoor may be able to expand on that better, because they did debate that point extensively.
I can share with you a little bit of how we're approaching that, because we're not, our primary software is not going to be our Python, it's going to be Excel. And a lot of that has come from us actually talking with other departments and what skills they would like to have students coming into those major programs, even outside the humanities. Everybody wants their students to have a base level knowledge of Excel. So our primary vehicle for walking through this data science process is to do it in Excel. And then we're using pre-built Jupyter notebooks in R as kind of a sidecar of, this is another software that you can use, but the code's already going to be written for them, and it's going to mirror the lectures that we do in Excel, so they can have a one-to-one comparison. And then there's at the end of the course, or through the course, they're going to be doing a project that at the end of the course they're going to submit and communicate, and they'll have the option to complete that project in Excel or R, whichever they feel most comfortable in. So they get a great base of Excel, and if they're confident in their coding abilities and they want to explore the more advanced language, they also have that available to them.
What sort of resources are available on campus to support R? Like, do you have is that something that you have some, sort of, I don't know, tutoring support or backstopping support for students already in place?
We do not. We have a stat tutoring lab, but that's really for our like basic stats courses and our biostats course. So outside of that, I've found, I teach the 1301 Computer Applications of Statistics, where we do a survey of all the languages. And I've found specific installations that I feel students have success with. And I feel like simplifying it in a Jupyter notebook instead of a more complex IDE just simplifies it for them a little bit and allows them to focus on the code rather than all the other stuff.
This semester, actually, we had a request from psychology department, because one of their courses was using R and their students were finding it difficult. So the undergraduate coordinator and the undergraduate advisor in the stat department put together a group of graduate students and some advanced senior undergraduate students to provide tutoring service for students from that department. But and then they also expressed that we should probably push this idea into forming a group of students who could regularly tutor even some of the stat majors at the very basic level. But I have not mentioned this idea to Paul, because it just came up and we just put together a group in the last minute. We haven't formalized anything, but this is something that we certainly can do. But of course, it would need resources, and Paul would not like me if I promise something that he cannot deliver.
I would just say, we have R throughout our program, in terms of stat and data science majors in every course just about that they take. I mean, our very entry-level courses for non-majors, we do point-and-click software for those, and then we are, and we're getting Python a lot more integrated. But it's certainly a thing that, I mean, I'm teaching a advanced undergraduate class in R and Python, kind of R and Python for data science, and even for these students who are supposed to be relatively advanced. I mean, there's some which are great programmers, and some that I was helping a student the other day who high level undergraduate class, and he did not know how to look up the help page for a function within R. He did not know how to look up the help page for a function, and I was like, how can you I'm thinking in my head, how can you be at this level and not know that very most basic of things? But that's my point being that, and this is so typical in so many classes, you have these very widely varying, levels of ability, but R is so important to us, but certainly lots of our students somehow get through classes and don't know it. And so, yeah, it would be a great idea if we had some kind of something like Tan was talking about, but again, resources is the issue there.
So with that sort of conversation about technology, so R, I mean, and I'm not surprised, R and Excel. So I just want to make sure. So Kennesaw is Excel, Highlands is essentially Excel with a little, oh, you're R, right? Highlands is R. Ben, what are y'all doing at Columbus?
Kristen, I think we've talked about R as well as Excel, but Kristen may have the specifics.
I'm actually still deciding because, like most people this semester, I expect have been kind of busy. And so this summer I was going to do a lot of prep work. So I haven't made that decision yet. And I'm just kind of gathering ideas because there's pros and cons, I think, to working with Python because of the Data 8 materials that already exist. And so I don't know Python, but it might be easier time-wise for me to just learn it and kind of use existing materials. But I am more familiar with R programming-wise. So then, there's the trade-off of, do I just use R because I'm familiar with it and then, create those materials? But I hadn't really considered Excel yet, but I do remember having a conversation, I think, with some people in the economics department and how they kind of wish their students were a little more familiar with Excel. So at this point, I haven't decided, but hopefully within the next month, I'll have made up my mind. So I'm kind of just absorbing everything right now before I pick that direction and run with it in the summer.
And Shatia, have you had any thoughts about where you would take your course?
We have discussed all of the above. We've discussed Python, R, and Excel. We really haven't settled on anything. Like most others have said, we're just kind of trying to figure it out right now. Since we have people on our committee from all different types of disciplines, we want to find a happy medium where the course doesn't get way too technical. And so that's where we had some discussion about the Python and R. We don't want to get students in that 1501 course and scare them away from statistics because they, the learning curve is difficult with the programming. And so we're trying to find that happy medium.
No, that's a good point. The first statistics class I took in graduate school was a course in R, and it was about as hard a course that did not have anything to do with statistics. The difficulty of the course was not the statistics. It was like, oh, you have a comma you're missing, or you failed to close a clause. Well, that's great. Can you tell me a little bit more about your interdisciplinary committee? That's fascinating. That's interesting to me. Like, who's on it? How does it operate? How does it shaping the course, and I'm really interested in that development plan. Do you mind going on a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I am from the College of Business, and so I'm on the committee. We have Dr. Chowdhury. He is from Sciences and Technology, so he's on the committee as well. We have someone from Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and we also have someone from Social Sciences. And so we realized that in multiple areas we have statistics related courses. We found that in some of the social science programs, they are implementing much more of Excel in their areas. In computer science, of course, they take a lot more math courses, so they're more comfortable with things like R and Python to some extent. And so in Homeland Security and Emergency Management, they kind of have a good mesh of both. It is a very new and unique program. And so they have some students who have a high level of skills more on the math side. And some that have more of the softer skills. So they may want a combination of the two, the Excel and the more technical stuff. And then our business department, we require courses in statistics right now. And so, and then we also have majors like accounting, where Excel is a intricate part of it. And so we have a number of different dynamics, but we have people from all of the different disciplines on our committee so that we can find a way to make that course something that introduces data science to students, and gets them charged up and wanting to know more without, getting them discouraged about the next level statistics courses in their major. And so our committee was kind of formed by our academic affairs, our VP of academic affairs. And so she pulled together the different people from the different disciplines for us to have these types of discussions.
That's great. For those of y'all, I'm assuming this is being looked at as an in-person course. Everywhere it's being looked at. Is that? Yeah. It's being all nods, so no one's looking at a hybrid or an online delivery. And again, I guess there's small rollouts. You've got one section in Columbus, 4 sections at Kennesaw, and then just sort of looking to build it from there. I know they've got a few sections. I know they're planning at Coastal and at Gwinnett, so we should have a few places where it goes into field and fall to sort of share from. So assignments sound like they're statistics faculty. Is anybody doing this within? And I guess UGA's got you've got a data science faculty, so there you go. Who's teaching the course? That's actually been a live conversation. Like, where are you finding your faculty?
Our first semester, we assigned several to Nicole, who has the background in business. Her bachelor degree is in business, and then she had the statistics master with us. So she has worked in data science field after, before joining KSU. So she kind of has her own interdisciplinary feature. And that's I think the great person to start this section. Also, we have one section covered by Dr. Priestley, who is our founder of the PhD program in data science. And she has a lot of experience with graduate students in terms of the data science disciplinary. And we think we have to have one section by her. And so we can get her experience and see how this experience transit with undergraduate students, and especially the first year students.
That is Jennifer Priestley, right?
Yes.
Someone familiar?
Yeah, of course. She was big on, she came from the industry, and she was big in SAS data analytics competition. That's where I have met her a couple of times.
Yeah, a few years ago when I joined Kennesaw State, we had this, hiring kind of strategy that every faculty we hired for statistics, we prefer them having some industry experience. So including me and several other faculty in the department, they all have industry experience, so they know what companies or the field need from the students.
Speaking of using Excel, I think in our department, there's been a big pushback. We do offer an MSIT 3000 course, which is going to become Business 3000 course, where they traditionally used Excel, as it was pointed out, accounting department and other departments. We essentially, over a period of 10 years or so, we've changed that culture into using JUMP. and it has become extremely popular even among the business school majors, and they have essentially dumped Excel now for good. But because we sincerely, as statisticians, do not think that Excel is a software of choice. So we made a conscious move to introduce JUMP, and over the period of 10 years or so, they are now hooked on to JUMP. And in fact, we offer all the sections except perhaps one, but we heavily use JUMP in that, which is a point and click software, which has much more capabilities than Excel. And students have bought into that idea. So in this course, I think we are thinking of Python in the Stat 1501, because we seriously think R is a big step in programming, while Python could be at pitched at a much lower level, could be more appropriate for that level than R. We do have a course in called Stat 2360, which introduces R at the undergraduate level. But we think this 1501, there's a consensus among our faculty that it should use Python.
I can tell you why we made the decision that we made, because I think it's really important to keep in mind the type of student that you're dealing with. 1501 was designed to be taken by undergraduate and really like freshmen and sophomore are going to be the bulk. And in addition to that, you're also dealing with non-STEM majors. These people are very scared of statistics in general. And then you introduce a really complex coding language and they don't know whether to focus on the code or focus on the concepts that they're supposed to be learning. So I think it demystifies that part of it, and being able to see the data. Like in Python and in R, your data is behind the scenes. Like you can visualize your data frame, certain ways, but if you can actually, it allows you to draw the connections between what's going on, in my humble opinion. And so I think the decision was really made, because I think it's the appropriate software for the level of student that you're dealing with, and B, because we did consult with a lot of departments. And the real truth is that most students that go through this course are not going to be data scientists. I mean, they're going to need to know these concepts. I hope that we can inspire them so much that they just want to join the field, but let's be realistic, right? This is something that's going to help them understand the future, because we are data driven and going into the future, and these are things that they need to be exposed to, but this is not their career. And so if they do love it so much, they can go into our minor program where they do get exposed to R and Python and all of the other, awesome tools that we use to do our jobs today. But I think it actually makes it more accessible to the student, and it allows them to focus on the data science aspect of it and not the code, which is the point, right? And in addition to that, just in every major that they could possibly go into, because I know as a freshman, I changed my major 5 times before I finally settled on what I wanted to do with my life. Having a knowledge of Excel is going to be useful for them no matter what they do.
I mean, I will say we've never taught programming to that level of student in our department before, and so it is something we've worried about. I mean, Mansoor teaches Stat 2360, which is our basically, I mean, he can explain more than me, but an introduction to R at a low level, and I mean that's the lowest level at which we are currently trying to teach programming. So it would be a new step if we try to do that at this level. I mean, that Data 8 course from Berkeley does Python, and it seems to do it in a fair bit of detail. So I think other people are succeeding at doing it, but we have not done it before.
I just wanted to agree with Nicole. I think that that Excel is a more transferable option that can work regardless of the major that the student goes into. So it is a really good option, I think, and we're still in discussion about it, but I think it's a really good option of what to focus on in that course because it's transferable regardless of the major the student ultimately selects.
Do you have a book you're using for the Excel or anything like that where you get your stuff? Business analytics.
So yeah, so we found this book. It's not a comprehensive book. It doesn't really cover legal and ethical issues, and it doesn't cover communicating with data. So those are sections that we are having to develop material for. But this book is taught with Excel and R, and it comes with a homework resource site that allows you to choose, and all of it, it has auto-graded assignments and things like that. And that was really important to us in this first year in order to get it off the ground and have it be robust, is to be able to leverage tools like this. I think over time, we're going to develop more in-house materials and really cater the course how we want to, selecting the types of data and the types of data science problems that we feel are going to be most appropriate for this student. But this just allowed us an opportunity to breathe a little bit in development because we all are already strapped for time. So this business analytics course, it's text, it's published by McGraw-Hill, and it comes with the Connect homework resource site. And so as far as just about everything except for the legal and ethical issues surrounding data science and the communicating sections, everything else is there. The application aspect of it, the stuff that you're actually going to be getting your hands on and doing in Excel is all there, and R, and it has examples in both of those softwares.
Nicole, who's the author?
It's Jagia Kelly. Can't pronounce that next last name. And Chen, I'd be happy to send this to Jonathan, and he can.
I think I found it. It's McGraw-Hill, right?
Yep.
It's, yeah, Jagia Kelly, Lurchwachara, and Chen.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah, it is a business analytics text. However, it does have problems outside of just a traditional business application as well.
Thank you.
So along the lines of this same discussion, and forgive me, Jonathan, if I'm overstepping and you were getting to this, but since we're talking about textbook, has anyone identified any open resources for the course?
I have a list of resources I can email out as well. I haven't necessarily vetted all of them, but before we actually selected the text, that was the process that we went through, is how much stuff can we find for free. But the cool thing is we were able to get this textbook and the homework package for $89 a student, which is nothing when you consider the software is free.
That's great. And if you email that to me, I'll get it to everybody. I'll post it here and make sure everyone has it, because that is a great, that's a really important thing, is like finding the resources for it, because this is a new thing. So finding particularly open source resources and things that we can sort of build on and share is really helpful. Catherine and Keith, I feel like we skipped over you. And I know you're in process. So I mean, what's your technology approach?
I'll let Keith, do you want to take first on this? Is he still in here?
Yeah, he is.
In terms of this course, we really haven't fully explored all of the different options. That's one of the things that I want to get out of this, is hearing what other folks are doing and what they're using. And to be blunt, let you guys do a lot of the groundbreaking work, and then I'll come in and steal the crops when everything starts blooming. My personal leaning is to not using something like Excel, just because I'm a statistician and I don't think it's a good package to use for statistical analysis in general. But listening to what Nicole was saying, thinking about the transferability of the knowledge base to other disciplines, I think we do need to go back and talk to some of the other departments that are going to use this as perhaps an area, a D course for their students, what skills they might want to have. I'll let Catherine talk more about how or what kind of interfacing we've done with other folks
Not
on
enough.
campus. That's been,
Leave it at that.
yeah, that's above my pay grade.
We'll just leave it at not enough. That's something I need to work more on. But I think the business school expect will be pretty interested in this, and they will probably want to go with Excel. But I think we'll be open to other options.
Well, and y'all may be in a good place on this too, if Keith and is sort of thinking about where he wants to build it, and y'all have yet to have these conversations. You may have these conversations, and it may shape that course. I mean, this may be opportune rather than this may be this. We'll just call this a design feature that you've just waited till you can have conversations with the department so that you can shape the course as they can use it. Because in the end, this is a course that really you need to have the audience set some of their demands.
I have just something to add. So I know I mentioned that we're doing this primarily in Excel, but again, we are going to have our examples and our code that we're running through, and the student's going to know what their major is and have an idea of the path that they want to take. So if they want to have access to a more advanced programming language that was built for statistics, they are going to have R available to them, and it is going to mirror everything that they're learning in class. So they get the data science concepts. It allows them to focus on the data science aspect of it. And if they want to explore more advanced coding, they're also going to have that material available to them. So it's not just like we're just not worrying about those. And the initial thought was Python. And honestly, it's just going to be easier for us to develop this initial round in R. And then we might also develop Python scripts that go along with it, so the student can pick their poison, knowing, which path they want to take ultimately.
Nicole and others, can you also say something about the actual content of the course and how it may overlap with some of the statistics, or is it purely in the data science direction? I think that's another debate we are having.
So it's more in the data science direction, less in the statistics, because we have that 1401 course that we suggest they take first, which focuses on the underlying statistics of all the procedures. This course is focusing on the application of that stuff and the use and how we actually get answers from data and how we answer questions with data, and then how we communicate those answers to a technical audience and a non-technical audience. So it's really just training them more to step in the shoes of a data science consultant. And I have tons of lecture videos that I've had to make in the past couple semesters since we've been online. If they need to go back and review the underlying statistics behind those procedures, those videos will be available to them, but that's not going to be the focus of my teaching. The focus of my teaching is teaching them how to apply all those concepts that they learn to get answers from data.
Excellent. I mean, if you could share your, say, syllabus or some outline with the rest of us, that would be great. I mean, if you don't have it handy, that's fine. But
as we go on, I'll go look through my materials and I have something I can share.
Thank you so much.
Nicole, I really like that approach, though. That so even those students will have had 1401 possibly or not, they may have had whatever. But let's say they have had 1401. They'll be a semester away from that course by the time they start hitting some of these statistical, and it may not have been what they focused on. It may not be what they remember from statistics. So I think the idea of having that sort of like brush up on that, here's the concept we're talking about here in the statistics, in a pure statistics model is really, it's really great, because it does put that piece that they learned or are possibly learning now or never learned into context where they can now say, oh, I can apply that. I now know why I had to learn that.
Yeah, I see the point of all that stuff.
Right.
Seemed meaningless at the time.
Why didn't you tell me that last semester when I was studying this, that this would be useful to me later? But right. I'm sure now you can. Like next year when you take this class. But that's awesome. I would love to see it too. I mean, again, if as you develop this out further, I mean, that's part of what this group is sort of, again, so that Keith and Catherine can steal all of your work and harvest your food as it comes up to fruit. But that'd be great. So what about, Camille, how was your class over there? Because you've got the 2 stats plus this, right?
We do. So we had really low numbers in the second stats class. So I feel like probably going forward, I'm going to offer the second stats maybe in the fall and then the data science class in the spring to balance it out and try to hit those students. Because unfortunately, we just don't have a large amount of numbers. We're still in that 1001 as their first math class. So trying to get them to steer towards stats is the first one, but we're having better success due to the advisors.
So are you saying the data science course is a fall course or a spring course primarily?
Probably a spring course.
And a follow on to stats, like they'd take 1401, 1501, 1402, and that sort of.
Correct. Yeah.
So what's the overlap look like between 1401 and 1501?
Same students, exact same students, unfortunately. So they're kind of competing against each other. So when we, I ask all the chairs at our school what they prefer for non-STEM, and they all said they want to let the student have a choice between that second stats or this intro to data science after statistics. So.
Just to clarify, so the data science course, they have the stat course as a prereq and then they take the data science course?
They could, yes. Or they could take the second stats course. So,
but are they required to have a stats course before the data science course? No, okay.
No, they just have to be out of learning support. Which for our institution that's a huge thing.
Yeah,
so
half your students have learning support requirements now.
Yeah.
How much overlap between concepts is there between the data science and the elementary statistics class?
Not a lot. It's like what Nicole was going to say. I'm going with her on this one. It's more of I want them to think as a data scientist. It may be we bring in a data set, we talk about it, and it's a discussion of, well, what would you want to tell somebody about this data set? Even looking at the visualizations. Well, how would you test it? What methods would you use? Those kind of things. More of coaching to get them comfortable for that end one. Because I even see the end project that I'm thinking of. I meet with them either in groups or individually, and we talk about the data, and it's an ongoing hands-on interaction between me and the students. Because I feel like they'll learn better that way.
Excellent.
I would love to see a list of topics from Nicole and Camille. I'm going to email both of you after this, but I would really like to see kind of some more details about how you're going to do it.
If we have time, I'm happy to share some things. I just found it. It's still kind of like I'm finding my bearings, but if we got time, do I have permission to share?
Try and see what happens. If you don't, I will.
No, you gotta give me permission.
See here.
Jonathan, go to security settings and then give her permission to be a co-host.
It just locked up on me. Hang on, here we go. It keeps on. There we go. You're actually now a co-host, Nicole, so you can now share.
Okay. Okay. There we go. All right. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So let me go here first. Okay, so this is the original development guide. This is where I have some additional resources that I can send to you. So here's an online course reference with different breakdowns and things. And this is the stuff that I'll share for you, some of the resources that I found. And here's some text resources. Also, a lot of these are free. But anyway, so here are the course objectives. I think these are yeah, here we go. The course objectives that I think we were all, or maybe these are the ones that we just developed. And there's a lot. And now that I'm having to develop FCARs, like wishing that we had to simplify this a little bit, but a lot of them are overlapping. So as I walk through the modules, I'll kind of show you how these objectives map to each of those modules. So my whole thought process was we want to walk them through this data science process, and these were some diagrams that I showed. It's really important, I think, to teach students that this is an iterative process. This is not like just a cycle or a step through. Like we have to go back and you know, as we continue to go along. And I think making that point abundantly clear is important. And I think a lot of people try to just simplify it by we go step by step, but that's really not the science part of it. That's a system. So here is kind of like the course modules. We have this introduction. What is data science? What does all of this mean? And then the second module is framing the problem, the purpose of analysis, all of that sort of thing, and collecting the data and understanding and processing the data. And each of these modules now, each of these learning objectives maps to one of these modules. But ultimately, what we're doing is we're kind of walking through the thought process of a data scientist. Where do we start? What do we do from here, and continue on through that? So I'm going to switch over to another one that's kind of more succinct in how we've mapped the book that we're using to each of these things. But this PowerPoint kind of goes through, you know, how we thought through working through, and when we get to obtaining the data, this is going to kind of be a soft topic. You know, we might be able to bring in some like basic SQL database examples and things like that, but just the difference between unstructured and structured data and different file formats, and how we can go to the web and get free data, and how we can use internal data if we're working for a company. And then the problems that we bring into class will allow us to make the connections between those points. But anyway, let me, this is long. I'm going to share something that kind of simplifies it into one page. So go back here. So yeah, I shared with you that text that we were going to use because I really felt like, actually Dr. Linda Galloway found this, and Sherry explored it even more before I did. And it's like, I really think that we should use this because it seems to be at the appropriate level. It's not too complex, but it's not too simple. It kind of sits in that sweet spot that I think will be able to make those connections for them and allow these concepts to really land. So this first module, this introduction to data science, data collection and management, this just kind of goes through, this is, you know, the difference between descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. We're going to introduce some real world applications of how we identify a data science problem, because that's kind of a hard topic to teach. But by pulling in examples and case studies and things like that, where we can walk them through a problem that's already been solved, and where they started and how they got to the finish line, kind of as an introduction to this is what we're going to be doing in this class. And this is what allows us to solve some of the world's most complex problems in today's society and continuing on to the future. So types of data, different scales of measurement, because in this first section, we're going to be, you know, just trying to understand a data set and raw data. The second module is more data management, looking at different data sources, file formats, types of databases that they might encounter, that sort of things, just kind of inspecting the data. Module 3 is where we walk through just a data exploration, you know, just getting to know the initial data, building these, and this is where it's going to, you know, tie in that 1401 class that they've taken, and they've created these charts and different things before. So this is not going to be anything new, but just getting to know the data from an exploratory standpoint. Module 4 is going to be preparing the data. Now that we've gotten to know the data, we know how many missing values, we know the percent missing. Now we need to get our data ready for analyzing. So this is our data preparation. We can talk about transformations of data and different things like that, detecting outliers, treating outliers, and basically before we actually model the data, we need to have it looking nice and neat, and correcting any data errors that we might have. And then maybe building more predictive variables from the variables that we already have. Module 5 is statistical inference. I mean, I think you can kind of, walk through the different topics here. Sampling distributions, estimations, and hypothesis testing. Module 6 is data modeling. And this was, I think, when we got this, I guess what you wanted from us, it was, or what the USG, I guess, mapped out for us is that we could pick a more advanced topic at the end. So this data modeling section is kind of up to the professor. If you want to do regression, if you want to do classification, what sort of advanced data science topic do you want to test and or do you want to teach? And that's this module is kind of up to the instructor. We're going with regression first because it really is like the easiest to teach. There's lots of resources out there. And I think it, from my perspective in working with students, they get it. They're able to walk through and like, oh, I see how that's predicting a value and different things like that. And then module 7 is communicating the results. And as we walk through this, so I have this Excel workbook. So, and that walks through those different modules that I showed you. So this first one is just getting to know a data set. This is a data frame. It's made up of columns and rows. And the thing that I like about Excel is the data's right here. They can see it. It's not this mysterious thing behind the scenes that they're calling on. And so it allows them to make the connection between those things. I know a lot of students at this stage are very visual learners. They need something like this in order to be able to make those connections. And then we go into this. And so this is how I plan on teaching my lectures is using this Excel workbook. I'm going to have exercises and a lot of the meat, and there's going to be PowerPoints that go along with it as well. But we're focused on the application and getting to know what this whole process is and how to walk through the process. And so they're going to have this project that as we learn a concept in class, their assignment is going to be now take this data set that I've given you and do it. And so it's not just this project that they do in the last 2 weeks of class, it's something that they're building on throughout the course. And at the end of the course, they present their results to a non-technical audience, to a technical audience through a presentation and through a written report. So that's kind of my approach. I felt like this is the way to differentiate it enough from 1401, but still connect those dots and teach them the whole point of statistics and data science as they work. So I hope that was helpful.
Totally awesome. That was great. Thank you. So we are at time, but I want to allow time for any other, are there any last minute questions, thoughts, observations, requests for assistance? So this is helpful. Here's the next steps for me. I've taken notes. I'm going to try and make them make sense. I'm going to do the same thing when we talk at 12:30 with a different group of people. And then I'm going to merge the two together and I will send out to everybody. And what I'm actually going to do is create essentially a listserv. So right now I've been sending what look like personal emails. And I'm going to put everybody on a group so you can all see each other, so you have each other's emails. I think I've captured everybody here, but if you get that email and you don't see somebody on there, make sure I know, because I really do want to create, as in the next year or so, there's a lot of action going on this, and I think it'd be really helpful to say, again, in the same way that there's going to be resources in different spots, and to make sure that this is a community together is the advantage of being part of a system. Thank you all for your time. Are there any other last minute questions? All right, this has been really helpful to me. I hope it's been helpful to you. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. And I will, like I said, look for an email from me probably tomorrow or the day after with this summary of this. And thanks again. Best of luck to you. And if you need anything in the meantime, give me a shout.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye, y'all.
Thank you.